morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody, wherever the world you're joining us from. I'd like to welcome you all to the Leading for Impact podcast, powered by Workforce Group, Nigeria's leading HR and business consulting firm, with over 2 decades of experience helping businesses scale better across Africa and beyond. I'm your host, Nneka Eneli, the Business Director at Workforce Outsourcing. Today, we're exploring one of the most critical challenges facing African NGOs, which is how to scale meaningful impact while building systems, building people, and structures that truly endure. In our previous episode, we spoke with Hadiza Yaro, the country manager of East West Seed, and we spoke about frontline leadership lessons in courage, crisis, and compassion from African change makers. Today, the focus is on scaling for good, how African NGOs build systems, people, and structures that last. Joining us today are two passionate advocates for the African girl child, representing an organization that perfectly embodies our theme. From one PhD student's vision in 2007 to reaching over 41,000 women across 24 African countries, WAAW Foundation exemplifies what scaling for good looks like in practice. Which started as one woman's burning desire to see more women of African descent, healthy, educated, and inspired, has evolved into an international nonprofit operating across multiple jurisdictions, registered in the United States, Rwanda, South Africa, and headquartered in Abuja, Nigeria. WAAW's mission is clear: to empower African women and girls to become transformative leaders through STEM foundation, STEM education, through leadership and entrepreneurship training. And what makes WAAW Foundation particularly compelling is their sustainable approach, which is moving beyond episodic events to create ongoing engagement with extensive networks of African women across the continent. Today, we are joined by two leaders who embody this scaling journey. I have with me Nneka Eneli, the Executive Director of WAAW Foundation, who brings strategic vision to the organization's continental expansion, and also Wuraola Kayode, the Program Manager, whose extensive experience in sustainable development and SDG implementation drives the operational excellence that makes their scale possible. Together, they'll be sharing hard-won insights about building systems, developing people, and creating structures that don't just grow fast, but grow to last. Let's dive in as I talk to my two guests today. So thank you very much, Timile and Wuraola, for joining me on this podcast. You're very welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Now, without further ado, let's meet our guests and learn more about WAAW Foundation's incredible work. Good afternoon, Timile and Wuraola. Okay, again, I say thank you for joining us. Now, the impact you're creating at WAAW Foundation is truly remarkable. Let me ask Timile first, Timile. As Executive Director of the WAAW Foundation, can you briefly share your journey? What was your journey like to the WAAW Foundation, and what exactly drew you to this transformative work?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much, Nneka. Thank you for having us here. It's a great privilege to be here with you. Okay, so you want to know what drew me to WAAW Foundation? All right. It's been an interesting journey so far in my career. And so I'll just start from my previous work before WAAW. Although I've had over 12 years work experience in the nonprofit sector, which WAAW Foundation in itself is also a nonprofit sector. However, before I came into WAAW, I had a little digression into the academics. So I was lecturing. I was a lecturer at a Nigerian university in a French country. And I was, being a public health professional myself, I was in the Faculty of Science, and I realized that I took courses across 100 level to 400 level, and it was just like maybe 10 to 20% of my students that were females. in this science faculty. So I had people in medical sciences, I had people in psychology, I had people in public health, different science courses, but they were just like 10 to 20% females across 100 level to 400 level. And for me, I was like, why do we have very few females in sciences? However, if you go to the other faculty of arts, of social sciences, a lot of females are there, and that was something that kind of like bothered me while I was lecturing. So when I decided to go back into nonprofit, I made up my mind that I wanted to build more women like me who are going to stay in sciences and who are going to, have this passion to give back to the younger generation. So while I was doing my research, I found WAAW. And, considering the fact that WAAW Foundation stands for Empowering African Women in Science and Technology, Engineering and Mathematics, that kind of attracted me to WAAW Foundation. And another thing that attracted me to WAAW was that WAAW focuses largely on college girls, university students across African countries. And for my background, for my work experience in nonprofit and also in academics, I've worked in a lot of African countries, and I've always had a lot of interaction with college girls, younger females, and all of that. So, for me, it was like, this is an opportunity for me now to bridge the gap, the gender gap I've noticed when I was lecturing in the science courses, if I am in WAAW. And then another thing again is to work more with college girls. So these are the major things that really made me to stay in WAAW. And, it's been a nice journey so far being with WAAW Foundation. Thank you.
Interesting. Fantastic story. Fantastic. And I'm happy we went to see more girl child, in the sciences and education. So that's a wonderful story. Thank you very much for that response. And thank you for the fantastic work. Well done. That's great work you've been doing. You saw a need and you immediately stepped into fill that need and you've been making an impact over the years. Well done. Well done to you. So let me talk to you, Raola. Now, your background spans sustainable development and the SDGs, right? Now, how did that experience prepare you for the unique challenges of scaling impacts at WAAW Foundation right now?
Okay, thank you so much for that question, and it's really great to be here. I'm excited about this conversation, really. So I'll start off with what was my first interaction with SDG, and it started with the MDGs, the Millennium Development Goals. And I recall I was interning at that time, and I recall one of the first tasks that we were assigned to. I say we because we're like a group of interns. We were required to go and understand the MDGs, and that was my very first time. And I'm like, okay, this is interesting. And I recall how I have to memorize it and connect it with the NGOs that I interacted with during my internship days. Then the MDGs evolved to the SDGs. And because I had prior knowledge of that, it was a guiding path for my career. So for every time I apply to organizations, I always try to connect it with what does this organization, how did they contribute to this said SDG? So, and you see how my career projection went from disability inclusion to protecting the rights of children, now at WAAW Foundation, where we're empowering girls in STEM across Africa. So it has always been a guiding path for me. And you also see it play out when we implement our projects. I always remind the team as well that whenever we are implementing something, let's tie the end goal to it. What's that goal? How does it really achieve WAAW Foundation's SDG focus? Because the truth is, donors will come, partnership will come, but we want to ensure that we are aligned with our own commitments and our SDG. So pretty much that's how I've been guided, and that's pretty much what guides me at the foundation as well.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Raola. Wow. From being an intern, and you see how you've grown from the MDGs to the SDGs, and now you're doing fantastic work at the foundation. I like the fact that alignment, you have to always point out that fact that there must be an alignment with your objectives. What exactly is your focus? Because if donors come, they must see that, what you're doing, what you actually set out to do. And everything, every program, every project you do, every initiative is tied toward achieving that objective. Thank you very much for that response. That's great. So let me come back to Nneka Eneli. Now, WAAW Foundation, and you mentioned it when you were responding in your introduction, that you operate across multiple jurisdictions, right? You have the United States, Rwanda, South Africa, Nigeria. So what systems did you build to manage this complexity while at the same time still maintaining the integrity of the mission?
Okay, all right. Thank you very much for that. So, I would say that I like that question because WAAW Foundation is actually a non-profit that really grows on systems. We don't play with systems at all across our programs, across every single thing we do. So basically, I would say that as much as we kind of like headquartered in the US and we are registered in all these other countries, we ensure to practice more like an independent legal structure in all of these countries. So in Nigeria, we are registered in Nigeria. So we could say WAAW Foundation Nigeria. We are registered in Rwanda. We could say WAAW Foundation Rwanda. So each of these countries have their own independent, legal system, even though, we have the umbrella head office in the US. And we do this because, the laws and policies in different countries vary. So whatever applies in Nigeria will necessarily not apply in Rwanda or in South Africa in any other country. So this is why we run an independent system across the countries. And another thing again that we do in terms of multi-jurisdiction is that we run a centralized financial management system. So I would say that our financial system is what it runs across all of the countries. Do you understand? So whatever we have, let's say that we have a project that we are running in Nigeria, we have a project that we are running in Rwanda, and all of these, there's a centralized, financial system that governs all of these projects across. Another thing again is that we run a central project. So the way we run, let's say our Shiaks Africa in Nigeria, if we want to run it in Rwanda, it's going to be the same. So we have that across all the countries. So you really will not be able to kind of like differentiate. Let's say you want to pick Rwanda out of Nigeria to say this is different. WAAW Foundation of Rwanda is different from Nigeria. No, the only difference is just the legal structure. In each countries we have a legal system that governs us. So this is one of the things. Another thing again that we do, another system that we actually practice is the peer-to-peer, system across all of these countries. And then again, the mentorship system across all of these countries. So our college girls in Nigeria run a mentoring program with secondary school students. Same in Rwanda, same in Zambia, same in Tanzania. It goes around across the same centralized program that we run. So I would say that really these systems are not actually what I built, but these are the things that I kind of like met in WAAW, and we are strengthening it. So it's more like strengthening the system that has been existing so far. Thank you.
Thank you. I said if it's not broke, don't change it, right? Don't fix it if it's not broke. Okay. So what I hear is that there's some level of autonomy to each foundation, each of the different jurisdictions. However, you are guided by the center. So there's still that central point. Okay, that's fantastic. And that peer-to-peer thing you have there, so that really works. And mentorship, that's the fantastic. Those are all fantastic initiatives that you're doing to maintain the integrity. Thank you very much for the response. So glad to learn. Now, Gura, let me come back to you. Now, from a program management perspective, how do you maintain quality and consistency when scaling across 24 different African countries, right? Which have all diverse cultural contexts. How are you able to maintain that?
Thank you. I like the diverse cultural context because really that's what I'm going to build on. And I really like the fact that Simi has given foundational work really to what I'm about to say. From the programs angle, one of the things we emphasize is creating a framework that is flexible, ensuring that framework exists, but it's flexible, that you can retweak across country. Because we understand that culture, we have different culture, we have different educational system and the way they also operate, but we always ensure that putting that in mind, there's a framework, there's that blueprint that we build on. And because we have this, we're able to track. So for example, when we set our program metrics, it is clear, it is going to work across all countries that we operate in, which is now 29 as we speak. So it's going to work across this set 29 countries across board. However, while we ensure flexibility, we also put our ears and our eyes down to ensure that are there metrics that we've not documented that we are seeing, so that we can take it and probably integrate it into metrics that we have, or make it a standalone for this set country. So just to emphasize that we are flexible, yet very considerate of the cultural dynamics and the educational dynamics that also operate. Because really, this also helps with our monitoring and evaluation, our reporting to donors based on the geographical location that we might have. So pretty much that's it.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. You said there are now 29 African countries. Fantastic. And I'm sure you're still growing, still moving. So more territory to conquer, right?
Yes.
Well, that's good. That's great. That's great news. And what I hear you say is that you have a framework, that cultural, but it's flexible and you can tweak it based on the different cultures, and cultural context of the different countries. Okay, that's great. Now let's come back to what's in lane. Let's talk about structures. Okay. Now, how do you build financial sustainability while maintaining your mission's focus, especially with maybe your transparent scholarship-based model? How are you able to build that financial sustainability and still maintain the focus of the mission?
Okay, so basically, I would say that we really focus on return on investment in WAAW Foundation, and I'm going to explain that. So how do we build financial sustainability? Now, this is it. If you invest $1, so we work with women, right? We empower African women and girls. That is established. Okay. So let's say a donor, a partner, an individual, anybody, invest $1 on a female through WAAW Foundation. So now the thing is, that $1 that you have invested is going to speak for itself. There's going to be a lot of return on that particular investment. And, there's one thing for you to receive funding, to receive, grants and all of that. There's another thing for people to come after you to say, we want to invest in you. A lot of nonprofits run after grants, run after donors and all of that. But in WAAW Foundation, we focus on building a very strong impact, system. We focus on building a very sustainable program such that our impact speaks for itself and donors are the ones coming. So now let me go back to the return on investment. So that we work with females, right? Starting from our scholars that build a STEM chapter in their university and bring together more females, and together they all go into secondary schools again and impact more girls, and like that, we create this ripple effect. So now, if you put $1 on, let's say we give $1 to WAAW Foundation and we put it on a scholar. So let's say we award a scholarship to one particular college girl with that $1. That's your $1. If you measure the impact in the long run, if you are able to quantify the impact in the long run, you're going to be getting like a lot of hundreds and thousands of dollars. So imagine you give scholarship to one girl, and this particular one girl brought together, let's say 50 other girls in the same university. They form a chapter. We empower them with skills, with knowledge, with a lot of skills and all of that. And they go into secondary schools on a monthly basis. They meet 50 girls today. From one girl that you put $1 on, brought together 50 other college girls. Now they are in secondary school. The first month they brought 50 other girls together, impacted them, that's 100. And then the next month they meet let's say 75. The first 50 they met in the secondary school spoke to their friends, spoke to their siblings, spoke to their community members. Can you even imagine the outcome in the long run? So this is how we build financial sustainability. We ensure that we have a clean structure around our programs implementation, and we have a sustainable way of telling our story or our impactful story. So, if you're a dollar that gave $1, you are a donor that gave $1 last month, and then you have seen the ripple effect, the number of girls that your $1 has impacted. When you're coming again, you're not going to give $1 again. You're going to increase it. And then you increase it. There are more girls again, more countries again, and all of that. So this is our structure. So at the main structure is just to ensure that we have sustainable programs and our impact, tell the story themselves. So we don't need to tell anybody. You will just see it. Let's say you meet a girl on the road, and the girl is currently now working with working in let's say a software company, and then the girl is like, I started as a scholar in WAAW Foundation. When I was a scholar in WAAW Foundation, I impacted this number of girls and all of that. And now working in the software company, I'm mentoring 10 other girls in secondary school. I'm giving back, I'm paying it forward. The return of the investment. See, you never get the return of investment on every let's say investment put on WAAW Foundation has no end. There's no end to it, because these young girls, these programs keep expanding. Like you said, we're in 29 countries and we keep expanding. Imagine all the girls we've met in all the countries, where they've gone to, the people they are impacting. You can't even tell the end of our outcome. So this is actually how we build a financial sustainability. Thank you.
It's a fantastic model, very sustainable. What caught me in my mind was the $1 that keeps on giving. You know, say the gift that keeps on giving.
Exactly.
So $1 is the seed. And that seed just keeps on giving and giving and giving. Just from that seed of $1. That's a great initiative. Great initiative, because most people be looking for the donors, and if they don't get the donors, what happens to the programs and the plans, and everything goes flat. But this is something fantastic that you just have people donate $1, and I'm sure to get me to give $1 to impact the life of a girl child must be something that I won't say it's very easy, but at least easier than looking for donors. And that $1, see the impact you said it can make across different countries, like across 29 African countries like you are in today. So thank you for sharing that. That was very interesting. So let me come back to you, Rula. Now, from a program perspective, which of your initiatives have become self-sustaining in local communities, and then what made the difference?
Okay, thank you for that. And again, I'm saying Timmy has laid the foundation, because really our programs, and honestly, one of the reasons why I said yes to WAAW Foundation was because it was different, and what I'm going to speak on was different, because usually, right, organizations have to go to different countries to implement this set projects. But we are saying, we don't have to be there in person. Let's empower these youths, and they just do the work. And so it's really an exciting one, and I'm really glad to be a part of this. To answer the question, one of the things that we have done, and again tied to the SDG, is ensuring that we are outcome driven. Activities are great. What does it translate to? Outcome, impact. And to also ensure that this is self-sustenance is, I'm going to touch light on two of our programs, which I would even give their names as well. Okay. So we have the need-based scholarship. The need-based scholarship is one where it happens annually. We call for applications for young girls to apply who are taking STEM-related courses in their university. So the funding is not to take them to school, it's to ensure that they remain in school. So it's basically to support them, whether tuition, academic tools that they might need, feeding, just general support in that sense. So when we bring them on, yes, we're giving you $500 to ensure you're able to do this. What do you have to do for that? You have to give back to your community. So in that sense, our college to secondary program now plugs into it. So once you get the scholarship funding, you also connect to our college to secondary program, which allows you to build a STEM community in your university. At that point, you are a leader in that space. You are building a community of other young women or men as well who are interested in empowering STEM in secondary school. Now you guys go as a group to that secondary school where you identify on your own, and you give them the education, you interact with them, you make them see that you can learn science in interactive, fun ways while ensuring that the knowledge is still adequate. For us, that's sustenance, because we don't have to be there. But the numbers, it's interesting that we like numbers in the non-profit space. The numbers are raking in, while also the impact is happening, because we are building their own tools and capacity to make that happen. Through our monthly mentorship program, we're interacting with them, bringing guest speakers to speak on diverse things, hands-on training, STEM kit, STEM activities. We even have peer-to-peer, where a scholar in Rwanda is able to share what did she do differently that a scholar in South Africa can implement. So it's like a tentacle that just keeps giving and giving, because one project is what is betting so many ripple impacts, and the stream just keeps going. So pretty much that's how we ensure sustenance, by building into one, and you just start spreading across the other programs.
Awesome. So you have the needs-based program and the college to secondary program. I know what really stood out for me. You said teach them how to learn science in an interactive way. That's very good, because I know most people shy away from science because they feel like it's so structured and difficult to understand. So if you bring in fun and interactions into it, more people want to learn the sciences, and I'm sure that's why you're getting more girls, more girls, gender. So I remember when I was in school, science, we had to make our all to make sure we passed it. So that's fantastic. It's a fantastic initiative. Well done to you, WAAW Foundation. So let me go back to the people scaling the people. Okay. Now for people-centered scaling. Now for before you, let me come back to you, Ratimile. Okay. Now, WAAW Foundation's philosophy is that empowering an African woman is a gift that keeps on giving. I've heard you say that. I've heard Uraola say that. How do you build people systems that actually deliver on this promise at scale?
Okay, well, that's interesting. That's interesting because at least Wura has told you why she got stuck with WAAW, and I've also told you mine as well, right? Okay.
Yes.
So imagine like 10 of us, in WAAW Foundation. So now I will start by saying that first, how do we build people's kind of like system that does the work? So now 90% of our staff at WAAW are females. Do you see? For me, that's the first. Now, if you are saying we are empowering women and girls, and 90%, even in our workforce alone, it's enough to tell you that we are for African women and girls, because 90% of our staff are females.
Wow.
Now, not just females, but passionate females, incredible females. Females like me and Wura, at least you've seen the two of us, you've seen the passion, you've heard the story.
Exactly. I can feel it.
Exactly. So now imagine this 90% of our workforce now are the ones, controlling the programs, controlling the countries, doing the work. And again, how do we do this? We pour ourselves into every girl that we meet, every girl that we impact. Now that's one. Now another thing is, this our need-based scholarship program is another way that we, build people system. Now we give scholarship to African college girls who are still in school. The reason why people go to colleges is to, learn what the course that they went there to learn, right? Let's say I want to become an engineer. I'm studying civil engineering, and that's why I'm there. So everything that I should be doing should be focused on learning my civil engineering, right?
Exactly.
But because there's something about human nature that loves, impact, that loves to be relevant. So we tap on the fact that every single human on earth wants to be relevant, wants to be influential. So we tap on that and we say, come, be a scholar in WAAW Foundation. We will give you an opportunity to be relevant, an opportunity to be influential, an opportunity to give back, an opportunity to pay it forward, you get? So from being one scholar, you have the opportunity to start up a STEM chapter in your own university. You don't even have to go out of your university. So we are giving people the opportunity to actually go beyond just the civil engineering, just for example, that they have come to the school to learn. So you become influential by bringing together some of your fellows and you start up a STEM chapter, and it doesn't stop from there. You see yourself, we give you an opportunity again to go into secondary schools to impact the younger generation. See, everybody, I repeat it, every human on earth, if you give them the opportunity to say this is relevance, this is influence, this is global, significance, would you go for it? They will say yes. So we simply give them a free opportunity to go for this. So this one scholar has the opportunity to build more females a STEM chapter. They have opportunity to go into secondary schools, not just one secondary school, any secondary school of their choice, as long as they have the ability they have the access to the secondary schools to give back what they have learned, their journey so far. Everybody loves to tell their story. Everybody loves to say how they have made it. Everybody loves to impact the next person, you get? So we are giving this opportunity, and then, so like that, these scholars are finding more like fulfillment, finding more like, relevance, being with WAAW Foundation. So they remain. They don't just remain, they tell the next person, oh, please, come, you need to join our STEM chapter. We were at this secondary school yesterday, and then 10 girls were wowed. They were like, oh, we are glad you came. They want to go again. Do you see it? So I would just round up by saying that the major way that we build people's system is we give every girl, I'll keep saying every girl or every woman that is impacted by WAAW Foundation or that has an opportunity to be part of WAAW Foundation to find expression. That inner expression, that relevance, that significance, that fulfillment, that thing that gives you fulfillment every night when you sleep and you're like, oh my God, what a day well spent. Because of me, 10 girls smiled in a secondary school. Because of my community outreach, because of my mentorship, 10 girls are able to know that they want to go for medicine, they want to go for software engineering. Do you see? So that's basically what we capitalize on. We capitalize on, giving our staff members, everybody that is attached to our foundation, that has an encounter with our foundation, an opportunity to get that inner satisfaction and that inner feeling. And that's why that's how our foundation keeps growing. Everybody wants to stay in a place where they are relevant. Everybody wants to stay in a place where they are important. Do you get it? We don't use people. We don't just use people. Wow. We allow people to bring out that inner creativity in them. So let me quickly say this. Some of our chapters, actually, they go beyond just what they are supposed to do. What we tell them to do is go into secondary schools and impact them with awareness, STEM education awareness. Some of these people don't just go to secondary schools by themselves. They go to orphanages. They do community outreach. They go into markets to talk to women, mothers of these girls in secondary school. Now, this is them allowing themselves, the creativity in them, the skills and talents in them to find expression. And this is simply how we retain people. This is how we build our people system in WAAW Foundation. Nothing more, nothing less. Just bring out the talents in people, bring out the creativity in people, and allow them to bloom, to blossom. And that's it.
Wow, I love the sound of that. You put so much passion. If I could feel your passion there, I love the sound of that. And you say you give people an opportunity for expression, to express themselves. When you were talking, I remember something I heard from FFAF, I think FFAF, yeah, she said, who is going to bed today thanking God for you? Thanking God because you made an impact in their life. That's what I'm hearing from you. That you feel fulfilled. You give people the opportunity to feel fulfilled because they have impacted lives of people across.
And sorry, let me just say this one last thing. And in the long run, when they are eventually graduating from the university, imagine a civil engineer student that only focused on civil engineering and a civil engineer student that was part of WAAW. When they both graduate, one has impacted more people, one has, made more impact, and was even able to realize that I have a passion for helping people. But one is only going out with just that certificate.
Just focus on one. Yeah, so you've given them, expanded their focus, expanded their scope. So they go into the world, be able to do different things, not just with their course of study, what they've studied, but they now live a life of impact, as they go out to their different, whatever field they decide to work in. Okay, awesome. That was very interesting and enlightening. Thank you very much for your response. So, we talked about your SDG background, your SDG background. So with that background, how do you ensure that as you scale, right, you are building local capacity rather than creating dependencies?
Thank you. And I'm riding on Timmy's energy on this. Something to add, which I know that Timmy is excited to hear if I say this, is one of the larger percentage of the team are fellows that have graduated from school or are still in school. So they are either interning or they are now associates. So you just get to see how it's a pipeline. So as much as you meet the criteria and there's an opening in WAAW Foundation, you're able to say, hey, I'm interested, go through the ropes, and you're able to also come in. So, and those are one of the things that we brag about, because we say that WAAW Foundation is for them and by them in that sense. So to answer to the dependency, again, I always say, and I recall when we went to Kaduna earlier this year for a teacher's training implementation, while I was interacting with one of the teachers, I said the beauty for me when I leave Kaduna here is when I pick up my phone in the next 1 year or 2 years and call you, how are you doing? How has this training that you attended, has it benefited you? And you're able to say this. For me, that's impact, because it meant that I've taken myself out of there. WAAW Foundation has taken themselves out of there, but we are still seeing the impact of our presence in that community. And that's dependency, because now they don't have to rely on WAAW Foundation every time. Even if they need further support, it's maybe another arm of training or another arm of our program, but not particularly for that set training, because if it's because of that set training, then it was a waste of everybody's time. So that's dependency that I see. Something to also mention is, while we, and I say we in this space, while we implement our projects, I like to say that let's think about the end goal beyond just us. And I'll tie it back to our scholars. One of the things when I read their reports is I'm able to say, oh, this scholar has been able to build their leadership skill. This scholar has been able to become, their brand visibility has improved. This scholar is now able to interact with principals, like high stakeholders in that sense. As a result of this program, this scholar has been able to apply to other opportunities, whether scholarship opportunities, ambassador opportunities, advocacy opportunities outside WAAW Foundation. So we're not just taking. There's also benefits for them. So for me, that's really how we see, or how I see dependency outside our programs.
Okay, thank you. Fantastic. So I see that, you allow people to just go out and replicate kind of a thing. So they don't have to depend on the foundation. They go out and begin to replicate, the initiatives and the programs that you teach them. And that's good. Thank you very much for that response. So let's talk about lessons from the sector. I mean, you're both in the not-for-profit or NGO space. Okay, and of course, there are certain lessons you've learned, along your journey, and you are still learning. Of course, we know what happened early this year that shook the entire sector. Okay, so there are lessons for everybody to learn. To talk to you, let me come to you, Atimilei. What are the biggest mistakes you would see African NGOs make when they are trying to scale their efforts?
Okay. So when you asked this question, I remembered one non-profit I had worked with in the past, and they actually made this mistake. So I will just quickly say that one major mistake. So I'll mention two mistakes. So one is, non-profit, because we like the numbers, we like to call numbers. We think that's what our donors, our funders want to hear. They want to hear we've impacted 100,000 girls in 1 year and all of that. And we allow those numbers to kind of like blindfold us from really building some real systems. Do you get? Now, it's not even the numbers will come, the impact will come. But then, before you get to the point where your impact is speaking for itself, or you have sustainable impact, like outcomes, like Bura said, the ripple effect and all of that, you have to build systems. And the big problem is people want to start with the large numbers. Now, let's say you are a small, you need to look at your capacity. If you are a non-profit and this is your capacity, if it is one girl, you can really impact in 1 month, and that impact will be a significant one. Sit with that girl and do the impact. And there's some impact that they don't die. As long as the person you have impacted exists, it keeps speaking for itself. So a lot of non-profits want to go for the large numbers at the beginning. We want to start. So you see a community and your desire is to start telling people, your donors, or creating programs, designing programs to start saying we want to empower 10,000 in 1 year. And then I look at the non-profit that wants to empower 10,000 in 1 year. The question is, what have you empowered how many have you empowered in the past, and what can you show for it? So non-profit need to understand that don't go for the large numbers. Build a sustainable system, either through your programs or through your financial sustainability. And once the system is there, then you can begin to grow the numbers. And this is it. If WAAW Foundation does not spend 1 kobo in a year, we would have programs that will create impact on a yearly basis. How do we do that? We have scholars already. We have 196 scholars already. Some that are still in school, some that are out of school, and they keep giving the ripple effect. All we need to do is contact our scholars. What are you doing? Where do you work now? And they keep saying, I currently work with this STEM organization. I currently work with this engineering firm. And for us, it's already a story we can tell. And we have not even spent 1 kobo on this person that year. You see our college to secondary program, we already have our STEM chapters running. They keep going for outreaches. The girls are there in secondary school anyway. They freely go into secondary schools, do the impact, talk to them and all of that. And year in, year out, girls are leaving secondary school, coming into university, choosing STEM careers. And we can say, because one particular girl met with WAAW Foundation when she was in secondary school, now she's in university and she has chosen a STEM career. Now we have not spent money on that. Do you see? But because we have built a system that runs for itself, now the impact keeps speaking across countries, across communities. So the mistake is, don't start with the numbers. Start with the little number. Less is much. Start with the little number that you can really build impact from, that you can build a story from. Then allow the impact to start creating its own ripple effect. This thing it's easy. It will just keep speaking for itself. So that's one. Another thing is, non-profit, we like the fame and the visibility. We go into one community, pam, 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 10 pictures, everything is recorded, you're recording everything and all of that. And the question is that the real impact? Do you see? So if you build a system, a sustainable system through your programs, through your people system, through your finances and all of that, building trust with donors and all of that. See, we didn't come to Workforce now, for instance. We never reached out to Workforce to say we want to do this. There's something Workforce saw about WAAW Foundation that we were just busy doing our business. We didn't even know anybody was watching us. Do you see? The fame and the visibility will eventually come in the long run. So non-profits should learn that. See, don't go for the large numbers at first. Go for sustainable impact, and don't go for fame and visibility. Build systems that will create the impact, and then you'll just be sleeping in your house and everybody's learning and reading about you, and your impact is speaking for itself. Thank you.
Good. So instrumental. Those two lessons are very, very instrumental. I was just thinking, I was trying to say, okay, yeah, that's true. I like the fact that I say, don't go after the numbers. Don't go after the numbers first. Go after creating systems. And the systems will now eventually bring the numbers. Of course, they create impact. Without one person, get that impact on that one person, and that will just, multiply. And then you say, don't go after the visibility too. And it's true, you are not looking for us, we look for you. We saw the fantastic work you're doing, and reached out to you. So, it's very instrumental lessons for African NGOs. And, I'm sure people are listening out there. People are going to listen to this podcast. If anybody's making that mistake, I'm sure, with the lessons that you have learned and that you've shared, in this episode, people will be able to now recalibrate and, chase the impact, chase the, system building first and not the numbers first. So thank you. That was very true. This comes from experience. We can hear the experience, speaking. So we'll be coming to a close very soon. I just have a few more questions and then we'll round off. I'm enjoying myself. I hope you are too. Yes. So Raola, back to you, our SDG advocates. All right. Now, how do you balance the pressure to show quick wins to donors with the longer term work of building sustainable systems? So you have the donors, you want to show, we've just heard from Timine, you want to show them quick wins, you've done this, you've done that, but how do you balance that pressure with that long-term work? You still want to build sustainable systems, and you just have heard from Timine, it's about building systems that are sustainable, but how do you balance it?
Thank you. So I'm going to respond to this based on things that I've seen that has worked for me, and I say for me across all the organizations that I've worked with and now WAAW Foundation. I think having clear communication is the fundamental thing, because, for example, we are applying to a for-profit organization to say, hey guys, partner with us to do this. Then you send proposals, they are back and forth communication. Then they said, you know what guys, we are excited to come on board. Let's do this. We are excited about the money, we're excited about the numbers that we're going to bring in. But one thing that is very instrumental is putting in, at what point in time would you report? Because if that is not there, the pressure comes from both parties. So imagine if you integrate the progress report timeline into the work plan, into the project scope that you're sending through. It's clear from both parties. If by the time they are uncomfortable with that timeline, there's an opportunity to come back and say, hey guys, do we want to relook this timeline so that we know what project reports to expect from you? I just really think it will help, because if, for example, we agree to say, you know what, progress report comes in quarterly, nobody is holding anybody's shirt or sending emails back and forth to say what's happening with this program. And I just really think it will really, really manage expectation. It would ensure that you are reporting the true numbers and you're not exaggerating what is not, because when there's the pressure, you want to show that you've been doing it, even though yes, you've been doing it, but you want to show that you guys have done so much more than you even expected. But ensuring that your communication is very clear with timelines, you will send in your progress report. I really think really would change things.
Okay, thank you. So we talk about clear communication, and then your reporting timelines. Quarterly, just have already scheduled and agreed reporting timeline between the donor and yourself, so that you are reporting the correct numbers and not trying to inflate or under pressure to show that you've done more than you've actually done. So fantastic. So let's talk about looking forward. I mean, we've heard so much from your wealth of experience. Both of you have shared so much. Now I want to look at, looking forward. So coming back to Grattan Lane, what does the next phase of scaling look like for WAAW Foundation?
Okay, so I would say that this is something that I usually discuss with our board, and there's something we always say in most of our board meetings, that we would rather focus on deepening our impact, our current reach, than just scaling. You get it? Currently now we are in 29 African countries, and these 29 African countries, each country in itself has how many communities? We've not got into all of the communities yet. So maybe in a particular country, maybe we are just in 3 universities. We just have like STEM chapters in 3 universities. And in that particular country, maybe they have up to like 20-something universities, and we want to move to the next country. We are not done with that country. So I would say that our next phase of scaling is actually to deepen our impact, to deepen our current reach. You get, we want to, not like we don't want to move on, we want to spread across. Currently now we are in West Africa, we are in Central Africa, we are in East Africa, we are in Southern Africa. It's just the North. We are even in North Africa, Morocco. We have a scholar in Morocco at the moment, and so we can easily say we've already gone around Africa. So what we want to focus on now is to deepen the impact, the reach. You get, and one of the ways that we are doing this is like one of our annual programs, that the summit, the STEM chapter summit. So in all of these regions of Africa, we go, because we don't interact with these people in all these countries physically on a daily basis. So annually we go to a different region, and then we do a physical summit, bring together all our STEM chapters across the countries in that region. Last year we did it in Accra, Ghana, and we brought together all our chapters across West African countries. So this year in August, few weeks from now, we will be in Kenya, and we are bringing together all the people from Eastern Africa, so that we can talk more, we can learn more from those girls, we can see how many more schools can we go to still in this space. So we focus more on deepening our current impact. That's the way we scale actually. And then when we are done, and just like the ripple effect we've been talking since, and when we deepen so well in a particular country, you don't know how that would reflect to another country, that we don't even need to be the ones to go after the country will call for us. Maybe a student in that country will say, oh, I have a friend or a cousin in Kenya, and I'm currently in Tanzania. I heard of what you're doing in Kenya. Please come to Tanzania. And like that, we can then scale. So we want to focus on the deep roots first than the spreading across.
Great initiative. So the next level for WAAW Foundation is deepening impact.
Yeah.
Deepening impact, and that's like consolidating the work that you're doing in the different 29 African countries that you are currently in. That's a good one, because if you keep scaling without, being and achieving that depth, it could, be detrimental to to your growth and the work you're doing. So that's really great. I'm sure the board is always happy to hear that when you talk about that. Okay, so back to you, Buraola. Now, what systemic changes need to happen for more African NGOs to achieve the kind of sustainable skill that you represent as WAAW Foundation?
I'll say systems. I'm a structure system person, because I know that if you get it right with your system and structure, it's easy to replicate. And so I'll leave with that. Build effective, strong systems and structures, and it's easy for replication.
Systems. Build effective systems and structures, and they will replicate easily. Just summary of it all. So summary of it all. Okay, as we are rounding up this discussion, and I think I've been learning a lot from both of you. Thank you very much again for being a part of this. We'll be rounding up shortly. I'd just like to ask a few closing questions. So, coming to you, Timileyin, if you could give one piece of advice to African NGO leaders about building something that lasts, what would it be?
Okay, I would simply say this is something I'm already benefiting on, being the executive director of WAAW Foundation. I would say make it transgenerational. Every NGO leader should actually build a system that outlives them. So now, I am not the founder of WAAW Foundation, but I'm the executive director of WAAW Foundation right now. And the founder has built a lot of systems, has started the work, done a lot of impact, but then now she has kind of like step aside for the younger generation to take it up. And that's why I say just make it transgenerational. Ensure that whatsoever it is, and this is another thing that happens to non-profits in Africa. You see that the founder perhaps relocates from Nigeria and the project dies, or the founder dies physically and then the NGO is gone, or the founder marries and marriage carries the founder to another place, and that's the end. Just ensure that whatever you're building outlives you and it's transgenerational. And that is why like WAAW said, we make it very important for us to bring in our scholars and our fellows into WAAW Foundation to join the workforce, because they are the ones that have impacted. They've actually they've benefited from WAAW Foundation a lot. They've been scholars. They've created chapters while they were in school. They've impacted secondary school fellows. Who could better do the job than them? So when we open up our workforce and we allow these young girls to come into the WAAW Foundation, we are just indirectly building a system that will outlive us. You get a transgenerational system. So that's it. Make it transgenerational and just sit back and watch the non-profit you started 4 years ago and just see how it's blooming. The founder of our foundation looks at me and WAAW today, and she's just smiling and just sipping coffee where she is, and we keep doing the work. And sometimes again, me and WAAW sit back and we let these fellows and scholars do the work, and we are also smiling and enjoying. So make it transgenerational. Thank you.
Fantastic. You've come with loads of advice, for other African NGO leaders. You've talked about not chasing visibility, not chasing the numbers. Now you're saying make it transgenerational. And that's one thing that Africans really need to learn. Build a system that will outlive you. That's what I said. And that's really great, because it's your name, the person's name is like building for posterity. Okay, so a lot of African NGOs, I think leaders is also learn from this nuggets of advice that you've shared. So I'll come to my final question to you, WAAW. When you look at those 41,000 plus women, right? I know numbers are probably gone up now because the number went to 29 African countries. So those 41,000 plus women that you've reached across 24 countries. So now we're now 29. I don't know how many you've reached now. Okay, but what gives you the most hope about the future of African women in STEM?
Okay, so since we're speaking on numbers, it's now 49,000.
You see, I said it.
across
of that. Yes.
Thank you. What gives me hope really is the confidence shifts. And I say this because, in the number of months that I've been with WAAW Foundation, I have seen, and because I was in the space where we were recruiting these young women for the scholarship program, and I remember how I was interacting with them when they sent in their application versus now when they've done their outreach. They speak from a place of confidence and leadership. And for me, it ticks the box that, okay, we are doing something right. So if I'm saying anything, it's the confidence shift that these girls that we're empowering, it doesn't just stop with them. They are also going to continue that journey and also empower other girls. So it's a continuum. And the fact that it's a continuum for us really gives me hope that this will not die.
Confidence shifts. That confidence shift. And you say more confident females, who are more confident in what they do and speaking out. So that's good. So as we round up this podcast, I would just like to hear one word from each of you. So one word that you would like to leave the listeners with.
Okay, I would say, well, let me just be a bit partial. If you have the chance to choose a career again, choose the non-profit career. Choose a career in the non-profit sector. It's one field that you get a very fast fulfillment. You don't even need to earn a lot of money. You don't even need to have built, a lot of legacy. You don't need to have built a lot of physical, assets. But the legacy that you leave behind, just because you're in the development sector, it's something that cannot be quantified at all. So I would say that if you have the chance to give back to the next generation, please don't withhold it. Whatever it is, whether you're in the non-profit sector, or you're in the banking sector, you're in the financial sector, whatever sector, just make it a habit to ensure that you create that ripple effect. What you've learned, what you know, the knowledge you have, the experience you've acquired, pay it forward, give it to the next person. And again, just make it transgenerational. Don't let anything die with you.
That was going to stick to my brain. Transgeneration, make it transgenerational. And it's true. Don't let anything die with you. Interesting. So, WAAW, what's that one word you would like to leave the listeners with?
I would say we should stay grounded, and the we cuts across our leaders, the departmental managers, the program managers, because we all have roles to play in ensuring that it doesn't die. So let's just stay grounded with our focus, with our mission, and also connect it back to the SDG goals.
Stay grounded. Don't be distracted. Don't lose focus. Thank you very much. Thank you both. I'd like to thank you so much for joining us on this powerful episode of Leading for Impact. So to Oluwatimileyin Ofessor and Wurola Kayode, I would like to thank you on behalf of Workforce Group for making your incredible impact across Africa. Fantastic work you've been doing at the WAAW Foundation. In fact, the WAAW story, powerfully demonstrates that when we dare to dream, achievement follows. Your work is transforming Africa one girl at a time. And it's profound and deeply inspiring. I'm sure it's deeply inspiring to those who are listening to this podcast, who are going to listen. So if this conversation inspired you, if it moved you, or some reflection in you, don't keep it to yourself. Please share it. We've heard from, Oluwatimileyin. She says, don't let your dream, don't let it die with you, right? Just impact one life, just keep impacting and let it, your life keep living, your life keep giving back. So I'd like to thank everyone for listening to this podcast. I'd like to encourage you to please share this episode with a colleague, with a friend, with a fellow change maker. And please subscribe to Leading for Impact so that you never miss an episode featuring bold voices, the authentic stories, and the deep insights from Africa's impact sector. We'll be back soon with more transformative conversations. Until next time, by all means necessary and legal, keep scaling for good, keep building systems, keep developing people, and above all, keep building structures that last. I'm Nneka Eneli, and this is Leading for Impact. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Timileyin. Thank you, Wurola. Do enjoy the rest of your day.